going on part two of learning the adult coloring book market. So I was about to talk about The Secret Garden author, uh, uh, Joanne Bashford. Joanna Bashford. She's really popular and has the most popular book out there. But when you check the author's page, you can see this person has Let me follow her anyway. This person has studio space, a lot of marketing behind her, and a major publishing company, so the books are really high quality. But her bio says that she likes to illustrate by hand, not using computers or anything like that. So most of these things, so she would be the type of person who creates those images for stock photo, for stock photo. So when you want an image like that, this is an illustrator. An illustrator made this. An illustrator made all of this. So they're making their money by selling the license fee. They're not publishing their book. They're just selling these to get the licensing fees. Because if you can get people to pay $75 per image, why put a book together that you're only gonna get $2 per book for 50 pages or 100 pages? So this person has a lot of books out. She's been at it for years and have a lot of books out. So you can see the page goes from the results go from page 1 to page 12. So I'm thinking each page has at least 10 entries. So we're looking at a lot of books that this person, different variations, on the same theme, on the same stuff, but just a lot out there. Most expensive book is right here is Enchanted Forest. Different versions of the same thing. Very expensive stuff. $19. So I think it's cool, but that's the high end. That's the high end of this business, of this market. To make it so, if you really want to get started, I would suggest you create your own stuff, and you try it that way, because you might be tempted into buying these things right here and making it that way, but then your book is like everybody else is out there. There's nothing unique in there that you're offering. So I mean, it's quick money if you can get to the top ranking pages and get it done that way. But I'm just pointing it out that just making it that way is not the easiest thing in the world to do. Just making it that way. So I have hundreds of PDFs because I've just kept trying to get the PDFs to fit on the page right, because I wanted a real bleed. So I have all these PDFs, and I don't even know which one is the right one that I finally used on my book in my book. But it's just funny that I did that. I just kept at it. I think it's probably one of these that it's final, because I think I use Ingram Spark for the final one. So as you can see, I'm using part of what my art looks like in real life, because I am a painter. That's what I like. I like painting. So I do have my own work that I incorporated into this book, but I also use the Mandela shapes, because people really enjoy coloring those in. For some reason they do. So might as well create something that's popular. So this is my images, and this is my stuff about sickle cell disease, for awareness. So I keep one side blank and the next side you know, unique images. This image is made from one of a photo that I had here about, so I just use that as an intro page, and I continue to give tips on how to use the book, because I'm using the Mandelas that you saw before, but I'm using them as part of the composition for each image, because like I said, I have my own studio space. My eyes are not, I lost vision in my right eye, so I cannot see that well to even color my own coloring book, because I work really big. I work, you know, this painting is about 10 feet by 5 feet, so maybe 8 feet by 5 feet or something like that. 8 feet by 4, 8 by 4 maybe. I don't know. I haven't measured it last in a long time. So I'm using Mandelas and I'm using models. You know, you have to pay for all of this. You know, every time you use an image or take inspiration from an image, you might have to pay out of, unless you change the image so much that you can't get sued for it or not. It's very difficult. But these are the images that I feel most inspired by creating. I wanted to create stuff with black women in it. I wanted to add this bird, so this bird is, just there because giving people something to color in. So if I go to Facebook or Pinterest or something and I see an image, you know, what I need to do is try to create a line drawing of that image, because that's what you're trying to get to. So I'm not afraid to use the graphic design software. So I'm gonna show you which software I use. I use Clip Studio Paint. Sometimes it's called Manga Studios. So I use that, and I use Photoshop, Creative Cloud. I have to pay my monthly fee for Photoshop, but all of this is done by hand drawing on. I have one of those tablets, so I have to. Excuse me, I got some. I have to hand draw these on the screen. So you can't just use the photo and think, oh, you're done. You have to make a line drawing out of a photo that you're taking inspiration from. Like if you see something that's nice and you would like to turn it into, you know, you would like to turn it into a page in your book, you have to take the time. It take. Let's just put it this way. Each page that I created, it took me about 2 days to get it right. You know, because my eyes are not that great, but to get what I want right. So that's why I use the image twice, because if I worked on something for 3 days, I have to get a lot out of it. So I create 2 pages. So these are the Mandelas I was talking about. Instead of just putting the design on one page and sell a book like that and say that's what it is, I make a composition that I like, that I would like to turn into a painting one day, and I do that instead, because that makes it worth it for me. So if I see an image I like, I take 2 days turning it into a line drawing. Unfortunately, when it gets into the book, when you finally get the book on your hands, all these nice detail that I painstakingly did doesn't show up on this book. You know, that gets me upset, because there's so much detail of line strokes in here. This take me a long time. You can see the strokes, you know, and you think it's a photograph. It's not a photograph. It's my strokes and my pen. I use this pen from I forgot what you call this company, but it's one of those pens that you can, draw with. So this is based on one of my paintings that I have here in my studio space. Another example of the same painting. So this is none of it. None of this is stock photography. The only thing that's probably that's well, mostly that's stock because I don't want to create Mandelas that don't work, that don't do the right thing. So I did get Mandelas from the stock photography place. You just get Mandelas, but you have to do something with it instead of just slapping them in a book because it's not unique when you just do that. People do love coloring in those Mandelas though. So I highly suggest that you do put them in your book if you're creating one because people do love them. This is one that I made myself, so that's not stock photography. This is my first attempt of making one myself. So I don't know if it's really good or not, but it took me so long to create that one. It took me like, how long did this one take? I think it took about a week just to create the Mandelas, and I'm cutting half of it off by putting the figure on top of it. So it was like a waste. And this is some Veve from my Haitian background, and I like putting that in my work. So, but I created the figure myself. But the Mandelas, this is my first Mandela attempt. It took me a week, and I wanted to get the book out. That's why I went and said, "Forget it. I'm just gonna search for Mandelas on Adobe and pay the fee, so I can continue it and get something done instead of taking weeks because the book would never come out, until next year if I created my own Mandelas. I'm still creating my own, but because I like the unique aspect, but I think some of these shapes are so beautiful anyway. So when I use them in my work, this is part of my work. I'm using them so differently than what you see out there. So, but this is the problem I have with this, man. It's like when I finally got the copy of my book, this bird took me forever just to get right, and all these lines and all these intricacies. You know, I fought myself sleep. I fought sleep over this. You can see some of the errors and some of the cutting out and pasting. You know, none of that will show up in the book. None of that because each one is a different layer that I had to put together and change. None of that shows up in the book when it's printed out. So I kind of feel a little depressed about that. This is another one that upsets me. Look at the line work in this thing. It took me forever. This one took me at least the beginning, like 12 days, because I was working from a photography. There are other filters that you can use on Photoshop, but they weren't coming out right. So I had to line things up because I'm still learning how to use Photoshop. I don't know how to perfectly use the filters that you can do these things with. I don't know how to do it. So I'm doing it the old-fashioned way by tracing and cutting and pasting. So all of these little details, they don't show up in the book after you get the page. You get the page, and it's just interesting, but it takes a long time. These I like putting these together because they're just very simple to put together. You just find a real nice head shape with a nice any and cornrows and nice sister that has got her hair done, and it's really easy to put one of those together because you're not tracing that much, but the detail doesn't show up when it's finally printed. It takes me a long time just to get it right, and sometimes they come out blurry because I'm working for an image already that's already tiny. So if you find an image you like, just make sure you make enough changes to it that it's worth calling your own, because that's what art is about. You're recreating what photography would easily do. Like this thing right here, this woman right here. the afro. It just looks plain and simple, but that took me days just to get the right. You, as I move closer, you'll see there's strokes in there that you don't see otherwise. You know, when it's digital, but it still took painstaking work just to. Let me just put it this way: I open this thing up. I open this thing up. This is the program, and I just say new, new file. So I'm about to create a page, and this my stuff is already set up, and now you have a blank canvas. Now what? It takes, you go in here, you pick your pen tool, and you just start drawing. I'm not drawing right now because the headphones that I'm using to speak are using the same USB that would that I would use for my pencil drawing, so I can't draw using the touchpad. But if I had my pencils, I would just start the drawing, and you use references. You just put another reference there, and you just, sometimes there's a lot more tracing than applying, but there's a lot of work that goes into all of those. So if you want to get something done, you have to. This program is worth it. I think it's like $50. So instead of paying monthly fee, I think that that program really helped me out. But it takes a long time to get those things done. So again, the Mandelas, and I'm going to zoom in because you can't really see the brush strokes. The brush strokes, that's one layer, and then the below that, I'm using grayscale because I like shading these things. This is part of my work that's here. That's what the cover is made out of. So I think this one turned out really nicely. So took a picture of my work, then I had to turn it into a line drawing. One of my paintings. You can see it in my bio. You can see that this is a painting. Let me show it to you. Let me see where's that page. I think I showed it on the last video if you weren't paying attention, in the part 1 video. I know something disappeared. So you come here and you go to the artist, the author's page. And this is the video that shows the big piece of work, but I think I have a picture of it here somewhere. My friend Randy took this picture, so that's what I made the cover with. It's a really big piece, and that's what's a cover. So I'm working from my own art, not from stock photography. Just stock photography. I do use some to shorten my workload because this would take me a year to finish without taking some shortcuts. But I like painting, man. I like painting my own things. So my ego gets in the way, so I have to use my own stuff. It's true, man. It's like I can't do it any other way. I have to put my own stuff in there, or why put your name on there? You can't sign your name on something. It's not yours. So I can understand some artists having a studio full of other people, helpers, who are painting their paintings for them. They have studios full of 50 people that are doing the work for them. This line drawing took me 2 days just to get right, because I'm basically working from a photo and my eyes bugging me. So all of these takes a long time. It's like when you get the book, it looks like a photography, but you go in deep enough, you start seeing the lines, and you can see the lines that I put there. So you start seeing those lines, and then it's not photography. It takes a long time just to get that right, just to do it right. This one is I use, instead of the pen drawing, I kind of started using, this one was one of my first. I started using the paint tool instead, so that's why this one has a painting look, because I was using the paint tool, the graphic paint tool, instead of just, you can see some of my strokes, and some of them show up, some of them don't. But it takes a long time just to get it done. But you're still working from a photography source somewhere. But it has to be your own work, your own painting. Like this isn't this was created inspired by an image. You're working from, like I'm looking at a Haitian money. I had to look at all these strokes and then try to recreate that in digitally. All these line drawings, it takes a long time to get it right and be happy with it. So this took me about 4 days. I'm really proud of it, but this is still hard work because there's two different layers I had to work on. At first, I had to work on the Haitian money, the face of. I'm blanking out on there. Toussaint Louverture, face of Toussaint, and then I had to use Jimmy Jean, Jimmy Jean Louis. He's an actor. He played Toussaint, and I really liked the role he played. So I used one of his poses from the movie, and I just took my time just to recreate that. That's what illustrators do most of the time. So the lines and everything, it still take a long time, even if you're working from a photo. It takes. That's what I would do when I'm painting anyway, because I'm working from a photo. And if I'm painting or model, I can't usually pay models, so there's a lot of detail in this piece, and none of it will show up. I mean, there's a lot of detail. So yeah, that's how I'm making my book. That's what I feel good about. I feel proud that I'm doing it this way. But like I said, you don't have to, do it like I'm doing. I'm inspired by a lot of things. This is the sickle cell stamp has this woman and this baby on there. Of course, I have to make a lot of changes. I have to make it my own. So I put, myself there. I had my friend Randy take a picture of me taking this pose. Then I wanted to implement, a father figure. Today's Father's Day. I wanted a father's figure for the sickle cell community because we had this image of this lady and the baby in a stamp for many many years. And where's the father? That was always my question. So you can see the line work. It's not easy to recreate something that's already been done and doing it justice. So it's not like copy trace and stuff like that, man. This is This is hours and hours of work trying to not only match a style, but get yourself in there. Like I said, there are Photoshop filters if you know how to use Photoshop to shorten that thing up. Because I've seen some. If you know how to use Photoshop, like there are some filters out there. There's Instagram filters. I don't know if you ever seen those art filters. Like it's just a filter. You take a photo and you use this program, this app from Amazon or from iTunes, and it changes your photo into a painting or a drawing. It's really interesting. That's a lot of people can use that as a shortcut. I think that would be a nice tip, but for me, man, I like just going in there and putting my own lines and doing my own thing, because I don't know if the filters would do the things that I want it to do. So these things, you see a photo but you want to do your own thing, so you do it yourself by hand. But like I said, there are filters out there. If you know how to use Photoshop well, I would recommend using Photoshop. But I don't know how to use that, so I can't really show you a process that works, because I really suck at Photoshop. I just got it. It's expensive. It's been expensive for so many years, so for me to use it, I don't have the money. I could hardly pay rent, man. I was homeless, so I'm just like, I can't be paying for Photoshop. You can't bootleg that thing so easily without getting in trouble. So I just get cheaper so many years. Now it's like $20 a month for you to have it. I mean, I would rather get Netflix or Amazon Prime or something. But paying Photoshop and you can't even use it a month, that's difficult. But I'm still paying for it, but I can hardly use it. What I use it for is to get, like, when my images are like, when I want it to be sharper or something, to get the resolution right. I try to use that so my images don't look blurry. Like look at this. When you get closer, you see the lines that never shows up in the book. You don't know how long that took me just to get my lines and get my thing. It doesn't show up in the book. It's just annoying. It doesn't show up. So people just think, oh, he just took a picture. No, it's not that way. It's not what he. It's not. It's not what you know. Oh, he just took a picture. Nope. Look at the line. Look the lines. Look at the lines. You won't see it in the book though. You just took a picture. No. Look at the shading. Look at the lines. It's annoying, man. It's annoying because the thing is, when you're an artist and you working and you're trying to be photorealistic, it it makes no difference because it looks like a photo, but it's not a photo. It's a lot of work, a lot of hours put in and to get it. So I'm really proud of it because I know it belongs to me. I sign it. I know it's mine, so that's what I feel proud about. It's my work. But like I said, if you see a photo out there and you want to use it, go ahead. But you have to do it justice to recreate it yourself. I mean, you see the lines. I just wanted the afro to pop, and by the time this is printed in the book, you won't even see those lines. But it is what it is. I'm using two filters to get the painterly wet look right. And this is what you use stock photo from. You first get the stock photo for the model. There's a little girl that has this pose. Then you just go in and you see the lines. When I go closer, you can see the lines. It's a little blurry, but you see the lines. When you go closer, when it loads, because this is a high quality image, it's really high. So You go closer, you see the lines. You can use stock photos for these flowers, and because flowers are just flowers, so I just get stock photos for the flowers because that's wasting time. But when you want to put a person, I recommend you do it yourself because I like doing that myself. There's a lot of line work on this, but it's based on stock photography because I seen it and I liked it, and I just had to create my own. Yeah, I've been doing that for ages. I've been doing those Egyptian pieces for ages, so I just wanted to create my own again. Like, like you see, it's like I could have bought these as stock photo, but this is not. There's a lot of work painting these things. This is another photo I saw and I really liked it. But you can see the line work. If you get close enough, you can see that. That takes work. Even though it's done on a computer, it's still a lot of work. So that's not Photoshop because I can't use Photoshop. Like I told you, it's Clip. This this Clip Studios. It's called Manga Studios in Japan. It's from Japan anyway. So that's it. That's how I put my book together, and that's what I'm learning about this community and how you put these books together. I'm learning, and I'm really interested in continuing to put more versions of coloring books out. Just like you saw, most of these authors have like 20 books. I want to get to that point in about 5 years to get to a place where I have a collection of these. I'm hoping that people will like what I'm putting together because they're kind of different from what you see out there. So, like I said, they're not the clip arts you'll normally see because you can come here and buy that stuff. This stuff you can buy. You put your own book together, you buy this stuff. You know, I'm not I'm not into that. I don't really. I think it's expensive. Plus, why would you have to buy all this if you can? You pay $75 if you can draw it yourself. You know, so that's if you can't draw at all, and if you want to put a book together, like I showed you in part one of this video. I showed you there are plenty of very successful authors who put these books together from these clip arts. That's it. You see that elephant right there? I showed you it on that other book. It's similar to this. They probably bought this elephant and it's like their cover. So you see this stuff, man, and you recognize it, and you know where it's from. So it's weird because you've seen this stuff, you know where it's from. you know so there's that elephant. A few little changes here and there, but it's the same click. you know this person just purchased the elephant. It made a few changes, color it in, and there you go. That's your elephant. It's number one bestseller in graphic design and color use. Just saying, that's how it works. If you want to put your stuff together, come to a stock photo website. Just pick the pages, you pay the fee, and there you go. Number one seller. It's not that easy. There's a lot of marketing that goes behind that, but I'm just saying, this is what it takes, man. This is pretty much the same elephant, just a little variation. There's probably another stock photo that has the exact elephant, but you can see, you just add color to that, and you put it. Like, how many elephants you see there? There's like one, there's two. One of them is the one that he used. There goes another version. There goes another version. You see? It's just They're right here, man. If you want to use them, you pay the fee and you have a successful book. But that's not what I want to do, man. That's not where I want to go with it. You know, if I see something I really like, a design I really like, I'll get it. But I'm gonna, add something to it that makes it mine, that makes it unique. And that's what I would suggest you do if you trying to get into it. I'm done talking now. Peace and a whole lot of hair grease. Support the book if you can. Finding your colors. That's what you search for on Amazon. I'm done for the day.